This is Richard Fowler. I'm John Kilpatrick with Okolona Aikido, Louisville, Kentucky, USA. And today, before we continue with what we're doing, I want to talk a little bit about attacks. And you know that in Aikido, you have basically 3 bladed attacks, or 3, yeah, they'd be bladed, or the Jo, it counts 2 weapon attacks. So one of them is ski, and that's not really what I want to talk about today. And then the other 2 are shomanuchi, where you're cutting down on the head, and then yokomen, where you're cutting to the side of the head. And usually I'll talk with a boken for just a minute here, but we have really low lights, and so I usually use a wakizashi style sword. But with the boken, we're taught when you do a shomanuchi that you cut out and the sword comes down to waist level. So the way they taught me to do that was that I'm striking at the top of his head, and then the sword comes here and just stops. You don't chop like you're chopping wood. You don't come down like that and then come back up. And this is pretty important. And then the other thing with this, and then we'll work with the other one, is yokomenuchi. And the way I was taught yokomenuchi is it cuts this way and comes in. So if he holds a stick there with shomanuchi, to me you hit near the end of the sword. You hit at the sweet spot, and then you're continuing to move forward. So you're not just standing still cutting, you're moving forward. You watch kendo people, they're moving forward, and you're slicing this way. If I'm doing a yokomenuchi, these are just nobody's told me this. This is just my opinion, because I think our throws are based on these sword cuts. I think really most of Aikido comes from sword fighting. And so if I do a yokomenuchi, I'm hitting near the handle and cutting this way. So with yokomen, it comes back here and cuts. And with shomen, I'm driving through it here. So now I'll put this away so I don't entertain y'all by shattering glass over all of us. And so a better way, I think, of thinking about this is that these cuts are what in Western knife fighting are called snap thrust. And a snap thrust is like popping a whip. So if you're doing this, it's like you punch here, but you have the knife, so you punch, and the knife snaps out. And so, and this is true for yokomenuchi and for shomanuchi. But if you're doing a shomanuchi, you're really attacking and driving through your partner. So if he holds that up, so if I'm attacking that, and I'm driving right through it. And that is like this basic throw that you see us doing all the time, where he attacks here, and I come here and catch his head, and I'm driving through his head. So that movement is a shomanuchi movement. And so then your yokomenuchi, so anyway, was showing for just a second, that snaps out and pops. Well, it comes here to this, it doesn't cut on through. And so now it's pointed toward your partner, or pointed straight ahead. Yokomenuchi is very similar. I'm cutting here, and so if he has that out, then so I'm cutting and pulling back into me. But this is a snap thrust, and it's much easier to do this, and it makes a lot more sense. So it's like I've got a whip and I'm popping with a whip, and so it's boom and it pulls back. And I think that's very helpful to do it. And then if we're doing throws, that would be if he, like he's swinging here and I'm coming to this side, then my Yokoma, no throw. It's just that my Yokomanuchi is gonna hit and pull. So I'm gonna pull him into me. So when we do throws where we're hitting here and pulling him in, that's Yokoman. And when we do throws where I'm pulling in and I'm driving through him like this, that's Shoman. So you could say a throw, in Aikido you have two kind of throws. You have throws that go through your partner and throws where your partner comes through you. Well, if I go through my partner, that's Shomanuchi. If the partner comes through me, that's Yokomanuchi. And this is just a basic concept. And I think having these concepts, this is how I think of everything. So all of my throws are either Yokomanuchis, where I'm pulling him into me, or they're Shomanuchis, where I'm driving through him. But understanding this when you're doing your weapon attacks, and weapons for us are a huge part of our practice. It's just very important to understand these different kind of attacks and know which ones you're doing, and also to know that what you're doing in Aikido classes are snap thrusts. They're not big swinging movements. They're snap thrusts where you snap it out there and pull it back.